Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our renewed new Common Sense Summit. And
Makes sense to me.
I have a fabulous group here that I wanted to enjoy and have you guys enjoy and meet. People that I've known and been working with since COVID started in about 2001 or 2002. We met all four of us met on an Zoom meeting with Sheriff Richard Mack and several people. And we just were kind of impressed with each other and got along on that Zoom meeting. And we contacted each other and we've been friends ever since. I've been out to Oregon to meet with them. I live in Florida, so it was a long drive. But and then Ananda and I went up. We shot at Front Sight in Las Vegas for a week and shot our guns and learned how to do all kinds of really good things with a gun. And then we drove up to Oregon together, and we were dodging the fires all the way up. California was burning, and then Oregon was burning. So we had quite an adventure. And ever since then, and I spent some time with them in Oregon. We talked a lot, learned a lot from each other. We've been working together. Americans in Action is the name of their group. They do amazing things to help people who get in trouble with the law. They help people who want to be out of the criminal justice system. They do all kinds of things, but their website is americansinaction.info, right, guys?
Correct.
Yeah. And so we have Christo Hart here up in that fancy hat,
Aloha.
and a beautiful Ananda, and we have Jason Ian in the bright lower right-hand corner of your screen there. And so anyway, we've been friends and compatriots ever since we met 4 or 5 years ago. And I wanted you to hear them today, be able to tell you what they can do for you at Americans in Action to save you problems with the legal, in case you want to get out of the entire system and be a state citizen or a state national. All those things they can do. If you're in trouble with financially, there's ways that they can help you. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them tell you about their services. And then after we're done with that, we're going to talk more about the Restored Republic. Okay?
Sounds good, Clyde. Thank you for that
Awesome.
awesome introduction.
Mhm.
And thank you. We love being here today. First of all, I would like to have a disclaimer. We are not attorneys, and we do everything for entertainment purposes. So you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
All
we get what
right.
you're saying.
The most important thing is people have to realize who they are. That's the foundation. That's essential. And what does that mean? Who am I? Well, it means that if you stay in the system of Babylon, you're a ward of the state. That's a citizen. And you are under the jurisdiction of that corporation that we know of as White House Inc. And it's important to realize with that, that has happened when your mother signed the birth certificate and she made you the ward of the state, where you don't
Right.
own your property, you don't own your business, and you don't own your children. So we have to straighten that out. And once you realize that you can live in Babylon, you can live as your all caps name, as that ward of the state, or you can have a choice and begin to live in the private. That's where the republic is, by the way, in the private.
Mhm.
And so in the private, another name for that is you're in the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
And people think that if I do that, that I lose something. Like, where's my social security payments? Can I have my funds from the corporation come? And the answer to that is you don't lose anything. You actually gain.
Mhm.
You gain because now you are populating the republic. You're populating the kingdom of heaven by living in the private. And you can now do anything you want, your business or whatever, in the private. And you can also dabble in Babylon, commerce, the public, if you need to, and then you're back into the private again. So you gain jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that sounds good to me. What do you
Yeah.
think? Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with that, we lay the foundation on that, and we, make sure that the person really gets it. Another important axiom and very important thing is that most people that dabble or deal things in the law, or they're accused fraudulently of a crime,
Mm-hmm.
they stay and keep things here in the intellect.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the kingdom of heaven, when you are a child of God, when you're a living, breathing man or woman, you find out that everything is here. This is where the kingdom of heaven
The
is.
heart.
Right here. That's right. And so you got to take all of your documents, all of your procedures, your whole life, and you got to make sure that you know what it means to live in the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that all the documents that you're using and the administrative process that we recommend, these documents fall shallow if you don't have substance, it's called essence, substance. That is everything in here. The best way of doing that, we recommend people, all the documents that they use, that they look up every word,
Mm-hmm.
even the word
Mm-hmm.
of, is. You think you know the meaning of those, but you find out that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a misunderstood in that, it's very challenging and difficult to become one.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like your lover, right? If you do not feel all the feelings and have everything come together, you can never come together with your lover.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an understanding at first, but then bring it into the heart. That is essential.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in the kingdom of heaven that way, that's where miracles happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because God is full of miracles for you. And so you want to tap into that by living not here, but here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I made that clear. It's very important. And it's a great process too. Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, all their life, they've lived in their intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start to go into the heart, it can be challenging a bit because you have to feel your emotions. But once that you get the hang of it, it's a whole new life.
Well, doesn't our educational system actually encourage not being in the heart and being in the head?
That's exactly right. We have to know, if we don't already, that our whole system worldwide, even our history, is all nefarious. It's as if Satan took over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that we are taught is the opposite of what is true.
Mm-hmm.
We know as well as anybody that they take sacred items, sacred symbols, and they shift it that that's something of them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really of God,
Mm-hmm.
because their whole agenda is take you away from having a relationship with your creator to they are the creator. They
Mm-hmm.
are the God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of people fall privy to, and they acquiesce. Once you do that, you're under their jurisdiction, and they're going to treat you not very well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so right, Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really understand, really get that everything we know up to this point is basically a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we've experienced, we've been a part of as a citizen, as an individual, of the nefarious education, of the nefarious court systems, governments. I mean, I think your audience is pretty astute, and they realize that our true government is hiding right now,
Mm-hmm.
at least to the 20th of January.
Right.
So it's a corporation. Like Biden was never president of our true government.
Mm-hmm.
He was president of a foreign corporation that has infiltrated our government, and he's posing as our true government, which is fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Once you realize that, and it's important to do that because that makes the United States a corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and a government cannot be a corporation, and a corporation cannot be a government. That's why I say with what Trump's going through now, if he applied this concept and the truth that merchant and the court system that he's in is fraud, it could be a whole different outcome. And all the people in the United States and the world would realize, oh my God, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
So once that you do that, here's a case here, Clyde. We had two cases that we came up with the idea, let's tell the judge the truth. And the truth is, you go to the judge and you say, Judge, I just found out that you actually represent and work in a corporation and you're posing as our government. That to me is fraudulent. What do you think? Case dismissed. He
Mm-hmm.
split out of there. Isn't that something? Because
Yeah.
he realized. So even though we realize it, if you don't.
Realize he's talking to somebody who knows who they are.
Right. Exactly. That's right. Exactly that. So anyway, it's that's the beginning point of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pass it on to my cohorts here. Ananda, you want to start putting in some information on that?
Yeah, I like that you brought up Trump because, it's interesting that he's been pardoned on basically everything, except now they still are going to try to accuse him of being a convicted felon, which is only a name. It's sticks and stones.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not fair that they haven't cleared his name. I said to Christo this morning, I said, the reason he's not in jail is because he didn't commit a crime. But, the viewers, the listeners, it's really important for everyone to know that the courts don't make a mistake. And I know this sounds far-fetched, but really in their construct, they play by their rules, and their rules are approved of by the players that want to play in that game. So if you enter into that courtroom, it's not a legitimate Article 3 de jure court, constitutional common law court of the people, by the people, for the people. He actually was participating in a corporate court. In that corporate court, they found that he had committed no crime. Because he had committed no crime, he's not in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to save face. How did they save face? They go, well, he's still a convicted felon on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the kingdom of heaven, the courts of heaven, I believe, his name is clear.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he hasn't committed a crime, then there should be no backlash, no punishment. His name should be clear.
Yeah. Another thing is that I'm confused why he would have a bar attorney. Of course, we know bar British accredited registry. They're an esquire just underneath being a knight. So there's still oath to the crown. But let me say this. If you sign that contract with a bar attorney, you are giving your vote. You are giving your power to a stranger that is in cahoots.
Yeah.
Okay. With, now don't forget, it's a bar attorney, a bar judge, and a bar prosecutor. They are not going to throw each other under the bus. As a matter of fact, in their oath, it even states that they are aligned to the court, to the state, and not to their client. Mm-hmm. So basically, most of the bar attorneys, not all of them, some of them are really good guys, but they hold a myth. And the myth is they're all about the money, and they don't care what, if you're guilty or not guilty. They want to get the money. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that bar attorney will actually betray his client, and you won't even know it. Mm-hmm. You won't even know it. Example, prosecutors say you did this, you did that, you were bad. And you'll want to go, no, I didn't. No. And your bar attorney will say, shh, not right now. And what he just did is he made you guilty. Because of, and you don't even know, it sounds like he was doing something that you in your favor, and he was doing something to make you guilty, not speaking, not contending. Mm-hmm. I do not consent to that. That is not true. Then anything that you do not consent to, or you don't come out and say that's not true, that holds as being truth. Mm-hmm. even if it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they jail and extort money from innocent people. And so it's really important to realize who you are, because if you don't, and you don't know if you're a citizen, you don't know if you don't know what you are, that's easily convicted, easily swayed to being guilty. Now, one last thing, and then we'll move on to maybe Jay wants to say a few words. That being a private citizen, being a private state citizen, being a private and living in the private, you have to learn there you don't defend yourself ever, but you do what is called stand. And it's a whole different process than what we're used to. We're used to giving our power away, say, to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
In this case of standing, you actually are doing it yourself. You're the only one that can stand. And so you learn the difference between standing and defending.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to defend, that makes you guilty. You always want to stand. And with that, Jay, you want to continue on?
Sure. So people have to realize, they don't have to, but it's important if they'd like to know how to navigate through this thing called commerce, or the what we like to call synonymously to the Babylonian Empire, of really how the courts work. The courts work, and not to mention it briefly, there's Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 courts. The Article 3 courts are the de jure courts. What do I mean by de jure courts? I mean constitutional compliant courts, the original organic constitution for the United States of America, where an American citizen, one who is not under the construct of the United States Corporation, but is in actual fact an American, has a way to receive actual remedy within an Article 3 court through an equitable operation. The corporation courts, which are posing as our government, are all actual for-profit corporations, of which you can look them up on Duns and Bradstreet. They're all part of they're all subsidiary agents of the state, meaning state of whatever state you're in. Those are all corporations. And because they're all corporations, the number one interest in a corporation is for profit. The way they make profit is there's a duality that's happening. The duality is, as Krista was mentioning, is your all caps name. Your all caps name is not what your parents or your mother and father actually named you. When little Johnny and little Sue came out, they didn't say, oh, look how cute she or he is. Let's spell their name with all capitalized letters. No, they just wrote it as normal, Johnny or Sue. All capitalized has a very specific definition. And basically, in a nutshell, it means one who gives up their rights to somebody else for the purpose of making money. That's why it's capitalization, to capitalize off of it. And that's why the main financial epicenter in any state corporation is the capital city, where they run money through it.
Mm-hmm.
The courts are agents of said state where they're trying to make money. So what's being adjudicated within those courts are pieces of paper, which are securities, which are identified by the business entity called your all caps name. Now, we teach people how to utilize that all caps name in commerce. It's like an LLC or a corporation similarly, but the all caps name is there for your benefit to navigate through commerce. If you've been listening to Trump on some of his speeches, he'll say Donald J. Trump or Donald J. Trump this or Donald J. Trump that. He's talking in third person. Why? Because he's referencing the duality. There's the Republic. When he wears his red tie, that's a hint that he's in the Republic. When he wears his blue tie, that's a hint that he's in the water jurisdiction called the corporate world, like he was wearing when he went to his hearing. When he says Donald J. Trump, he's referring to his all caps name, of which he represents as a living man. Your all caps name is your business, and you, the living man or woman, get to utilize that business. The corporate courts adjudicate and do negotiations based on that business. It's not you, the living man or woman. In the Republic, we go back to true crimes, which is one thing, if you've done harm to somebody else or their property. All there is in the law in actual republic, when it goes down to biblical principles, is do no harm unto others, keep your word, and do no harm unto other people's property. Period. That's it. And then you have juries of your peers in your community. And this all goes back to biblical principles, to Cain and Abel, to covenants, and so on. And we teach how all this comes together in our workshops and so on and so forth. And we break it down so that you can learn how to navigate through commerce and not be subject, meaning a one who is under the auspage of a higher authority. Because true sovereignty, as you were made in the image of your creator, means you are king, you are queen, you create your own world, which is what our forefathers intended. And that's what it is to stand. And the commerce empire, a lot of the religious institutions are all about, as Krista was saying, giving your power away
Mhm.
to either an attorney, to a savior, to a president, or what have you.
Mhm.
But true sovereignty is you learning how to navigate your ship through the high seas, through the wind, air jurisdiction as you stand on the land, just as Jesus walked on water and Moses parted the Red Sea and walked on land to the promised land. So there's all a lot of metaphors talking about how to navigate through commerce while being free, and that's what we like to teach.
Mm. That was
You want
awesome.
to take over, Nanda?
So can I
Yeah.
make one question here on the churches? So when the churches become a 501c church, which
Mhm.
almost all of them are, how does that work with what you're saying?
Well,
Well,
I'll start
50,
it off and then you finish it, Jay. But
sure.
We're all
you
like
are
chomping at the
involved
bit.
Yeah, yeah, you're all
Yeah,
chomping
yeah.
at the bit on
with
that
the
one.
503 thing, and anything that you align yourself to Babylon, you are still under their jurisdiction and you give away your sovereignty.
Hmm.
So everybody knows if you do a nonprofit and you have it connected with Babylon, they can come into your books at any time. They
Hmm.
can close you down at any time. That isn't free. That
Yeah,
isn't in the private.
that's right.
So we urge people to do um, to live in the private with no connection to Babylon whatsoever. Take over, Jay.
Yeah, so just the general rule of thumb, if you will, whatever you apply to someone, whoever you're applying to, you're essentially giving your power away to their jurisdiction. In other words, you're asking them permission and saying, hey, if I want to be a 501c3, you're going out of your way to the ABC agency and asking to use their forms, their documents, and join their club, which means you've given your power away. Whereas in biblical principles, whereas in the private, in the republic, there is no ABC agency. You just do private engagements, private events, private exchanges, contractual agreements, which is what equity is between man and man, mano to mano, handshakes. And whatever happens in the private stays within the private. So during the pandemic, so to speak, or scamdemic, as I like to call it, those who had 501c3s were under the auspice of those who they applied to get the 501c3, and that's why the churches had to close down. So that's a catch there. But if you're in the private and you make yourself a organization, and there's different languages that you have to use, where there is in a private membership association like a PMA, where you can create your own organization or club, so to speak, that is like what Krista was saying, not under the jurisdiction of the state or the federal jurisdiction, then all you have to do is be in the private, and whatever happens in the private stays in the private, and then you don't have to close down.
PMA.
PMA,
PMA. What is it, Jay?
Private Membership Association.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
when you make a private membership association, there is a caveat where the federal level does have some sort of jurisdiction, because the federal level, just know this, the federal level has the option to go either corporate or equity, meaning corporate constitution or actual constitution for the United States of America, meaning the organic constitution. They can wear both hats. Okay. The lower courts, not so much. The higher courts, yes. So if you're making a PMA that is actually going to cause evil or harm to others, meaning breaking the actual constitution where you're creating, I don't know, like a seance or something, and you're doing certain things under the auspice of it's in the private, but it's actually causing harm to other people, federal can come in and say, hey, you're breaking the law and now you're be held liable because they're breaking the actual law, meaning causing harm to others, causing harm to other people's properties, and breaking their word, and not doing it with consent or anything of those nature. In other words, they're doing quote unquote evil acts. At
Hmm.
which point, then the federal level can come in for enforcement. But other than that, you can do what you want in your private capacity.
Hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, and I love what you said about consent because that is the key. What has happened is when the churches they open up and they think, well, we're doing the right thing because we're being transparent, we're not trying to hide anything, we're alerting the powers that the fake powers that want to be, because we've been raised to believe that they're true authority and that they were legitimate government. So oftentimes we'll go in unknowingly and we'll say, hey, we're doing the right thing because we're setting it up to be tax exempt. Well, guess what? We already are tax exempt. Taxes are voluntary. So when you sign up for a 501c3 and you're saying, I'm a nonprofit organization, that's fine. But just know that you voluntarily signed up through your own consent to invite the state in and their agents
Hmm.
and whoever they want and the dictates that they have. You're inviting them to come look at your books, which is in the private. My relationship with my creator is a private affair. It's between me and my creator. When I go and I participate with a group of God lovers, right?
Hmm.
And we're doing spiritual acts in the private because that's our private relationship. We're developing it. And we can have those private memberships and we can do private education. And it's actually within the law to do so. You're not violating any laws by opting out of their programs. And that means taxes,
Hmm.
501c3s, all of it. A great example of a private membership association is Costco. They're private and they can make their own rules and they can let you in if they want. They have a bouncer at the door and they
Hmm.
can kick you out if, you have to go by their rules if you're in their private club.
Hmm.
So when you enter into a private membership association, you can go from being a medical doctor who has the magnifying glass, they're looking at you, your books, and if you mess up, we're going to come and pull your license and we're
Right.
going to slander your name.
Yeah.
Instead of that, you can open up a wellness center. You still have your credentials. You're still a doctor, but you can call yourself a wellness practitioner. And now you're in the private sector. Instead of working on patients, you're working on friends or family or members of the association. So
Yeah,
it's a little bit of language. There's a little bit of language to learn as you go. But once you set it up, it's easy living and it's private. So it's
that's
nobody's
right.
business but yours and who
And
you
all of a
choose to share
sudden,
with.
they don't know what to do. I'll give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. On
Right.
several cases, we worked with doctors, and they were being harassed by the big pharma
Hmm.
controlled medical, right?
Right.
And with that, they were threatening to take their license if they don't fall in line or pay $5,000 fine or what have you.
Hmm.
So, in working with these people, we recommend, you know what? The only thing they have on you is the license. We recommend you send the license in because it's much more powerful to send it in than them taking it, even though the whole deal is fraud. And so you send it in, and then once this doctor, and I'm just pointing out this one doctor, has done that, all the harassment stopped. He had a brand new life. And we recommended that he no longer call himself doctor, that, like Ananda was saying,
Hmm.
a health practitioner or what have you. Now, you got to be aware that, and we've been to several rodeos here, that we know they put plants in there. So he was still dealing with his clients, but then they put plants in there to ask them, is the doctor in?
Hmm.
Now they were ready for that. So they said, there's no doctor here,
Hmm.
and so forth and so on.
He approached his wife at the gym and said, "Are you married to Dr. So and so?" And she said, I don't talk to strangers. I don't recognize you.
Yeah. So we
You
really
don't answer.
educate the person how to stand in this whole
So
process
there's a
because
lot of
they're
educate.
nefarious.
There's a lot of education here to
Yes.
Yeah.
you have to go through. But if you truly want to be free, you have to learn this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And really
You
know
have
it
to learn. That's right, Clyde. You have to
and,
learn it. But one of the most
and
important things
practice
is
it. Yeah.
as you learn more, you find the value of things you don't say.
Hmm.
That is as important as things you do state.
Right.
So it's really important to realize that. That's part of discovering who you are and how to apply God's principles, the law of heaven in the documents and in your standing. A lot of people feel that when they get a summons or a citation or something, oh my God, da, 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 and they answer it or whatever, what that is just a request to contract with them.
Hmm.
So once you do that, they got you. So we've often sent back summonses saying in an angle on the paper, we do not consent.
Hmm.
Or there's other words too, but that's one that is pretty frequent. We use that and we send it back. And really, in 99% of the cases, nothing happens. You don't hear about them again.
Hmm.
And so it's very important to realize that there are ways that is true law. And like Jason will probably bring out later, that true law always supersedes everything else in court. Isn't
Hmm.
that something? But you got to know what it is.
Hmm.
And so, one last thing with that on the PMAs,
Yeah.
they're so wonderful, but not if you do a PMA that's statutory compliant. If you do a PMA and you register it or record it within Babylon,
And then you
it's no
just put
longer the
yourself
true
back
deed.
in, right? You just
That's
put
right.
right in back
So
into the matrix.
that's
Yeah.
right. So we really urge you and we teach
Hmm.
how to do a PMA staying in the private. We have people, friends, and our own people that we share information with. And they've had PMAs for 15 or 20 years, doing business, making money, no issue whatsoever.
Hmm.
One last thing, and I'm going to turn it over to Jay or Nanda, is that we really recommend you discovering trust, not statutory trust. Never do a trust with a bar attorney. They'll make it statutory and it's not really a trust. So you want to do a trust in the private. I did my first trust 32 years ago. It's irrevocable. It will last forever. And I have everything in it.
Hmm.
And so I also have businesses in it and what have you. And when you're in a trust, even from their laws and rules,
Yep.
nothing's taxable.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, if you have your car in trust and you get stopped by law enforcement and they want to take your car, kidnap your car, if once they find out it's a trust, they won't be able to do it.
Hmm.
Ananda has a really good story that she had a car. It was in trust. She was stopped by law enforcement and he was going to impound the car and he found out doing the VIN. He goes, oh no, this is in trust. He threw his hands up and go, I can't do anything. Have a nice day. And he left because it was in trust. But you got to do the trust in the private. Anybody want to take over from there?
Oh, well, it's true. And it was an absolute celebration to watch the officer look up the VIN number and then see. And he threw up his arms. He said, I can't do anything with this. So that was a real, it just shows how it works and that it is recognized by the courts, which goes back to lower law must yield to higher law, which I think Christo wanted Jay to talk about. I think he was prompting him to speak on that.
Yeah, he's going to speak on it, but I just came up with something else that's very important. It's almost a disclaimer, but it isn't. You're going to find out all the ways to stand. You're going to see all the corruption, like in real estate. You're going to see the corruption all over the place. And then you're going to go, DMV corruption. We have a right to travel without any license or anything like that. Now, any individual finds all this information, validates it, vets it, knows it's true, but then they like get a Z plate, they take off the DMV plates, they really are living it, and then they get stopped by law enforcement, and law enforcement, they don't know anything. They
Mhm.
see that you're not registered, they're going to take you in. And
Mhm.
then if you start fighting, they'll give you the handcuffs and you'll go to jail. It's not about that.
Mhm.
There is a way of standing that you don't want to be stupid with this stuff.
Mhm.
You are driving, or we like to say traveling. That's in the in
Traveling, yeah.
yeah, that's right. In their streets, their
Mhm.
streets are paroled in the jurisdiction of commerce.
Mhm.
So if you're smart, you're going to pay attention to those laws, not to collide with their corrupted laws, statutory statutes, what have you. And you're going to treat law enforcement very kindly. You're
Mhm.
going to make them your friend.
Mhm.
I've done that all the time, and I've gotten out of tickets and everything else. And even if I would get a ticket, I know I have the wisdom to handle it administratively where it goes away.
Mhm.
Therefore, I don't go to jail.
Mhm.
And then also in making the law enforcement your friend, you start the education process. And we have many, and Jay has a lot of those situations because he's always getting stopped. No, he has a lot of those situations. And the law enforcement, the police go, well, what about this? And then he starts educating them.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they want to research what we're doing and what the
Mhm.
truth is. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Education, your opposition. Jay, you
Right.
want to add to that?
Yeah, I love that you said that because part of being sovereign, it comes from the foundation of united we stand. So, in order for us to truly be in that republic, we have to live in the consciousness of that we are one, which is biblical principles. It all goes back to the biblical principles or spiritual principles, too, of where the highest law is always superior. What is the highest law? Well, we like to talk about the highest law being trust law. What is trust law? Well, we can talk about that being the creator, God's law, if you will. Now, everything there's a universal law, I like to say, that everything must, and that means it's not negotiable, must be disclosed. Everything has to be disclosed. And if one is not aware of how it's been disclosed, then they become subject to that which they're unaware of. And in the disclosure, the law even says ignorance of the law is no excuse not to abide by the law. So it's up to us to get educated, to open our eyes and to become awakened and find out how to decode. You've heard people, I'm sure your audience has heard about people decodifying the Bible. Well, everything is codified, and the Babylonian Empire is a shadow, a mirror image of you, the living man and woman, whereas you, the living man and woman, are a mirror image of your creator, which is decodified and even blatantly stated in Genesis. You're made in the image of your creator. So existence is. So the Babylonian Empire, just as you, can't do anything that's not already in existence, can't create anything from that which is not already in existence. So the Babylonian Empire uses the principles of the Bible to create a whole other world. There is a maxim in law that says that which creates controls. That which creates controls. So they created that all caps name for the matrix called commerce. Whereas God created you, the living, breathing man or woman. Now you can use, it's called a nexus, a bridge. You can use your all caps name to navigate through commerce while you're staying in the private. Okay, you just put on that commerce hat, your game piece on that world of monopoly. But everything is disclosed to you how to do that. So the system can work for your benefit, which is trust language. You can be a beneficiary of the system. Now, in commerce, which is their matrix that they created, as I was saying, they have to disclose that even if the matrix is something that they created, which means it's fictional because they just created it, Same thing with the fiat currency or the legal fictions. They're telling you it's all fake, it's a game piece. They're going to tell you then they must disclose and abide by that universal law. What's that universal law? You must disclose. Where do they disclose it? There's a thing called the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCCs. That's how the laws that operate commerce. There's a maxim in that law form that says, in commerce, truth is sovereign. That's a disclosure. In commerce, meaning Babylonian Empire, in commerce, truth is sovereign. Now, if you break up and we decode words and we decode, maxims and we decode letters and we decode everything, and it goes back to biblical principles. But that specific maxim I just stated has multiple communications in it. They're saying in commerce, meaning the Babylonian Empire, truth, which is synonymous, because if you go truth is sovereign, those of you who know math, if you did algebra or anything else, is synonymous to equals. Is synonymous to equals. So if you take that maxim, truth is sovereign, in commerce, truth is sovereign, put away in commerce, put that aside, and just put truth is sovereign, then you break that down and it says truth equals sovereignty. Truth equals sovereignty. So what's the truth? If you're made in the image of your creator, that means you are a mini god, if you will, a creator, and you're aligned to creator energy, which means you're sovereign, which means you're standing. And they're saying to you in commerce, when you are standing in truth, being one with your creator, you are sovereign or superior to the jurisdiction of commerce. And if truth is in commerce, if truth is sovereign, that would mean that commerce is a lie because truth is sovereign. In commerce, therefore, commerce is a lie, which is a fictitious game called Monopoly that we can play at, but don't become subject to it. So they disclose it to you, but you have to decodify it. And now, when you have that clarity, you can now play in the game using your game piece, your straw man, using trust, using corporations, using all these things. Like Donald Trump says, Donald J. Trump, he's referring to his game piece, talking in the third person. And now he's navigating through commerce for your benefit, which is trust. And we teach you how to do that. And it comes down to language. It comes down to clarity of knowing who you are. But it goes all the way back to you're a living, breathing man or woman, a sentient being, a spiritual being, and not a legal fiction in the game of commerce. But you can use commerce for your benefit, which is trust language. And now you can set yourself free, which is what the Bible says. When you know the truth shall set you free. And we hope that we can teach that to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
that's
is
awesome.
something that can
Very
be
powerful.
learned. Yeah, it's something that can be learned and developed as you go. And judges and clerks of the court, even attorneys, road agents, aka police and sheriffs, they respect it. Because when you're standing, you develop your standing. So it's not united we fight, it's united we stand. So as we develop our standing, what we translate that to is it's standing in one's knowing. When we are knowing, in our knowing, we can't be knocked off our center because we're one with our creator. So no matter what curveballs and what fancy language they bring to us, we remain in our heart and we speak from our heart. We speak the truth. We base any claim. We always verify our claim with facts, law, evidence, and our own experience. As we develop our standing, we learn how to speak articulately. Then we are received well because it's hard to deny. When someone is that certain and that clear, people want to lean in and hear what they have to say. They're not like, oh, you're lying and oh, this is nonsense and oh, you're trying to, no, I'm very clear with what I'm saying. And this is the truth. And so anyway, we're finding more and more agents of the state are interested in this topic and they want to learn. So we're finding more and more patriots and state nationals are finding that officers are asking about this and they want to learn. So we're here to teach and share this information. And we like receiving information when other people learn things, because this is what we're doing with the unity consciousness, not standing in solidarity. It's unity consciousness where we're helping our fellow man and we're rising together to
Mhm.
reclaim our
I
republic.
was
So
I was just wondering, do you guys do like role playing to teach people
Yeah,
this?
we have scenes, we have court scenes, we do all that role playing because
Wow, that's
that
fantastic. Because
demonstrates.
that's the only way somebody's, I understand a lot of this because I've seen you guys, I've been at your symposiums and stuff. But I mean, to somebody just coming into this new, unless they've actually role played these things,
That's right.
it's going to be hard for the average person.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, what we do is with each individual that we work with, in his case, we role play with that and go, okay, now this is what the judge is going to say. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what you do. Okay, then back and forth. Da, da, da. Okay, let's do it now. And we
Mhm.
get him over the material in his actual experience. And you're right, Clyde. That is absolutely the best training and education one can receive.
Right. And the other thing I think I've heard you guys say before too is that whenever possible, you try to avoid that personal contact with the judge and the courthouse and everything and do things through the mail, correct?
Ideal scene is handle everything administratively. And like
Yeah.
you said, that's through the mail. 100%, because you don't want to set foot in the boards of the court. What is that called? It's called a court. Isn't a court is where you play games?
Mhm.
Basketball court,
Mhm.
tennis court. You are setting yourself up for a game. And in a game, there's a winner and a loser.
Right.
And they have most of the expertise in their game because you're entering their game. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
going out of your jurisdiction. We highly recommend never to set foot in court and handle it administratively. Now, I want to bring out there's one thing that is very hardly anybody knows this. A bar attorney does not have a license to practice law. No bar attorney, judge, or prosecutor does. They have a bar card.
Hard.
That's right. A bar card, that's a club.
Mhm.
If they're asked for their license, do you know they either show the bar club and some people go, oh, okay. But they didn't, they're just saying yes and they don't even know what they just had in their hand. Or all bar attorneys are businessmen. So they have to get a business license and they'll show their business license as the license to practice law. And it's not true. So
Mhm.
you have to be very aware about all these things so you can point out, you can locate, identify, unpack what they're really doing, what they're really presenting, what they're really saying. Jason is brilliant at unpacking documents coming from the court, and he blows people's minds away. Well, what is that? What are they really saying there? Because they use words like shall, request, all that, and they have certain meanings that we think we know the meaning of, and we do not. The other item with the bar attorney is this: it is against the bar code to represent a child of God. Do you hear what I just said?
Mhm.
It is against the bar code to represent a person living in the private, to represent a person that did something that I think is amazing, repudiation, to repudiate, to give up that ward, person, ward of the state, to give that up. That's known as a citizen, commerce citizen, to give that up so they're no longer own you. You're no longer standing under them.
Mhm.
So it's very important to realize that if a bar attorney wants to represent you and you say, oh, yeah, I'm living in the private, he will leave in 2 seconds.
Right.
Another thing is if you do have a bar attorney, and you finding out the truth that you are probably going to lose if you have that bar attorney in most cases, then Jay also puts out there, and Ananda does too, certain questions to the bar attorney. And we know you ask those questions, and the bar attorney said, I'm sorry, I can't represent you. Pretty phenomenal. Jay, what are some of those questions you could ask the bar attorney in that? That's valuable information.
So
Isn't there something though, Clyde, that they can't represent? It's against, they could be debarred. They could be tossed out. They represent a private person. Go ahead.
So every bar attorney wants you to have, for the most part, a retainer fee. So a retainer fee is an offer to contract, and retainer fee is basically money up front to a bar attorney for the option to use them. I'm going to say that one more time. A retainer fee is basically a gift to an attorney to use him, maybe. And what he'll do is he'll take X amount of dollars for a retainer fee, and then he'll say, "Yeah, I'll use X, Y, and Z retainer fee, and then I'll deduct that from our services if we go to, move forward." Well, when you receive an offer to contract from an attorney based on a retainer fee, you can also ask the question, "Well, how about we waive the retainer fee? And why not?" And they'll say, "Well, you can pay me hourly." Well, then can you please send me an invoice of your hourly conduct? And because you're hiring them, so they work for you, so there needs to be full disclosure. Can you accept the retainer fee as a payment? If he accepts the retainer fee as a payment, now it's income that he has to report. He won't want to do that. He puts it in an escrow, quote unquote, an escrow. But if you itemize it as an income, now he's got to go to the ABC agency and report it, and they don't ever do that. So you can demand that he does that. You can also negotiate the contract. Every contract that is presented to you, whether it's a retainer fee or whatever, you can negotiate. Will they go for it? Maybe, maybe not. But you can change his hourly fee, make a proposition, change the retainer fee if you want. They may not go for it, but you can propose it. Another question you can ask is, well, if you're part of the bar, like if somebody is being called in to the court or whatever, and they're saying that they're going to issue forth an attorney, a public defender who's part of the bar, you can say, well, isn't the bar a private organization like a PMA? So how does that PMA have anything to do with me? In other words, why is this bar attorney, both the prosecutor and the defense attorney, using language that's not my language? And how does that language in your private club have anything to do with me? Where did I join your club?
Yeah, pretty phenomenal in that whole
So
thing.
there are different things like that that we
Amazing.
need help with administratively.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
There's something else that's really important that we share with your audience here, is that you're right, Clyde. There's a lot to discover, and how to talk, how to stand. It's a whole different ball game. So because of that, every 3 weeks, we offer a no charge free question and answer period online that anyone can join. All they have to do is email Americans in Action. What's the whole
At protonmail.com.
Yep. And request that, and we'll send them a link. And it's so invaluable because we get people from all over the United States and some people in Europe. And in that, they say, well, I have this going on. What should I do with this? And we all learn from all their individual cases. In addition to that, we offer a assistance of counsel, because that's what we are.
Okay.
And if people want to know what an assistance of counsel is, it's spoke about in the Sixth Amendment. Bar attorneys are never mentioned in the Constitution. Sixth Amendment, and it's assistance of counsel, and that everyone in the United States has a right to have an assistance of counsel. So in that, we actually started our next one yesterday. It's a 5-week course. It is amazing. And we have very notable doctors and politicians that actually take our courses, and it's so much fun. And that's another thing about this whole process. because we're on the truth side, because God's law is very simple, it is actually very simple to do. Yeah, you got to learn this and that, but you know what? It's actually a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
so much fun that when you present yourself, and if you should be in the court in person, or you present yourself even administratively, you feel that they scramble and they don't know what to do almost. It's so much fun
To
to
watch
be
it.
in, yeah, that's right, to
Yeah.
be on offense in a very safe and non-combative way.
Hmm.
That's another thing that's important to realize. Most people have fight in them because they get so upset with the fraud.
Hmm.
And you got to really feel your feelings of the anger, because anger has no room in the private, no room in your standing. If you go and you fight, you will lose. It's
Hmm.
not about fighting, it's about the most important thing, staying in honor. And you stay in
Standing in
honor.
honor and really having it in your heart that you want to be their friend. And you guys have mastered that. You've gone through experiences which have taught you that.
That's
Uh,
exactly right.
and
Man,
you're dealing with people that have gone through these things. And so you've learned now that's got to be your feeling is to be in the heart,
right.
in your heart. Look at this person and know that he's a fellow human being, and
That's
that
right.
and that you're going to try to help him
That's right.
by
Yeah.
by
That's exactly right. You said
learning
it
this
better
process.
than we said it. Absolutely. I'm going to tell a secret. I hope you don't mind, Clyde. Clyde is an American in Action advisor. Go
Mhm.
to Americans in Action.info and you will see his beautiful face there under
Oh,
advisors.
you
And
put me back in.
you're always in our heart.
I
Believe
know, I know, I know.
yeah.
I know.
One last thing on our education process. We have books. Ananda put together an amazing book called The Dictionary That Will Save Your Life. And it's not just an
Oh,
empty
awesome. I
statement.
didn't know about that.
Oh, we'll send you one. It is amazing. It
Okay.
tells you about all the words they use to trick you. Like if they
Mhm.
say person, that means corporation, right?
Right.
Citizen, you're a slave. Oh, it's just amazing book. And then Jason wrote a couple books, an affidavit book, and tells you all about affidavits, because when you repudiate, you're making an affidavit. And
Mhm.
so that's very important book. And then he did another book because during the COVID breakdowns, when they closed all his businesses, we assisted people in staying open. And we have a 102-page book called, what's that called, Jay, your book?
Project Stay Open. And
Project Stay Open. And boy, does it work. It is a fabulous book. And that's available 365/24. You can go there and get those books. One last thing. We also have other events. And the other events we have is the repudiation. And Ananda is brilliant at doing the repudiation, not only creating that affidavit to set yourself free, but how to complete the process by going and dealing with your passport and getting that in the documents of your passport that you know are no longer a citizen in slavery, but you are a free living person in the private. Is that amazing or what?
And Chris
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
Christo has wrote a book too. We have to tell him that. This Spirit Awareness is his book, and we have a sister website called spiritawareness.me, which is under construction. But that's where we bring in, through Christo's guidance, all of the spirituality of what it is to stand, because the law and the spirituality, believe it or not, is synchronistic.
That's right.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talk a lot here on this call here about, we teach, but Christo has said from the get-go, it's not a teaching process. Or a relearning process. It's a deletion process. And that's a very profound thing that I've experienced from his teachings, is that a deletion process means we are eliminating the conditioning of what we think has been true and
Hmm.
discovering that everything that we've learned is a lie,
Hmm.
90% of it. And now we're deleting all of that so that we can come back to our pure, living, breathing man, woman, sentient being self. And now we move forward through existence. And that's what Christo's brilliant at as well.
So it's based on we are all God in the body. We are all loving beings. We are perfect and enlightened within our own being. And the only reason that we have struggle and conflict is because of there's a bunch of junk on top of us that block us from the trueness of the love that we are. And we delete those things by feeling the feelings that we've never felt. And pretty soon, all of that is deleted, and you're in touch with and you're one with yourself again. And that is the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
true
So
child of God.
what it all comes down to is this is a spiritual experience.
Exactly.
And
And you
when
know
Exactly.
you
what?
tell
In
the
the spiritual,
truth, you
that's
tell the
true.
truth, it's a spiritual experience.
That's right. And we
Mhm.
find out this is the fun part too. In doing our process on the spiritual side, we see how our individual path of spirituality is totally mirroring what's happening in the world politically.
Mhm.
It's so weird and so amazing to
True.
see that.
Yeah.
The world outside is really us projected outside, and we got to bring it all back in.
Mhm.
And then we become again child of God, kingdom of heaven.
Awesome.
Thanks for bringing that up, Jay. It was awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think our audience has probably pretty much been blown away by the amount and depth of your guys' knowledge, and and there's a lot there. I mean, there's a lot to unpack for people that aren't, especially people who are unfamiliar with this and these
Right.
conversations.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell everybody in the audience that hopefully you've gained a lot of inspiration to learn more about this and how it all works, and just go to their website and go to their when how often do you hold those classes?
Well, the free question and answer is once every 2 or 3 weeks on a
Okay.
Saturday at 12 noon. All
Mhm.
you have to do is email us,
Mhm.
and we'll send you the link. There's
Yeah.
no charge, and it's so much fun and so amazing. And then
So,
the other
yeah.
events are sporadically, like once every 2 or 3 months,
Right.
assistance of counsel, how to learn to do what we do. And we really urge that because, like you said, it's important to take care of your neighbor, and we're
Mhm.
passing it on. And it's so beautiful. And then we had the repudiation where Ananda leads that out and teaches you, shares with you the things to do, to say. Her repudiation is just an affidavit.
Mhm.
And there's three parts of the affidavit. It's the fraud that you found out what's wrong, and then the evidence that that is true that we're bringing out, and then the remedy, what you want done. And that's all it is. It's very simple, and it's very powerful. And then that happens about once every 3 or 4 months. So we have a lot going on, and it's all listed on our website. So anytime that you want to find out what's happening, go to the website. Thank you.
And the
So,
website is americansinaction.info.
yeah.
And the name of the repudiation course is Correcting Your Status Masterclass.
Mhm. So, that's good. I was just going to ask you to say that again. Americansinaction.info, people. Just go to that website. All this, you'll learn so much from these folks. And, it's an amazing experience. And it ties in with one of the main themes of this summit, which is the restoration of our original republic.
Love
Because
it.
it really ties in. Everything that they've talked about really talks in because we all should be standing in who we are, and that's what a republic is all about.
That's right.
But as you can see, we've been taken out of that and put into this other jurisdiction of the admiralty law and bar attorneys, and it's so far away from God's law. And the
Totally.
laws, as Jefferson said, the laws of nature and nature's God, which are the basis of all of our principles in our Declaration of Independence and Constitution and everything that's
That's
involved.
right.
And
So,
I want to throw something in there. People might, not your audience, but there are people out there who might hear the spiritual aspect of this and think that's woo-woo or whatever. But make no mistake, our forefathers were very much in touch with this spiritual consciousness. And how do we know that? They put it right there in the preamble of the Constitution. We hold these truths. to be self-evident that all men are created in the image of their creator. All men are equal and created.
And in the
I'm
Declaration of
paraphrasing. Go look it
Independence.
up. You'll see. They
Yeah,
use that. They use the language that we're made in our image of our creator and that we are all equal and therefore united we stand as one whole being.
yeah,
So it's there right in all
absolutely.
of our founding documents.
And in the prologue to the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson says very clearly, we're putting this nation together under the laws of nature and nature's God. And if we want to change it, we have the ability to alter or abolish what we've put together. What does that tell you? That tells you that we are in charge. The
Yeah,
Mhm.
people are in charge of this government. The government is not in charge of us.
that's right.
We're more powerful than the government.
Right.
And it's right there in that first couple of sentences of the Declaration of Independence.
And
And
that
people
you
need
brought
to
out a
understand that power.
That's right. You brought out an important part that everybody needs to be in service. Everybody needs to be. That's why we named our group Americans in Action.
Right.
It's not just words. We urge everybody, because everybody has a gift. Everybody has something to put into it. So use that gift to help your neighbor, to unite all of us, and to get rid of the nefarious on this planet. And I do believe we are doing that, all of us combined.
Yeah.
And I want to say that Clyde is amazing. The summit is amazing. And please look at all the speakers. There's so much wisdom here. It's
Mhm.
quite a service. And applaud Mr. Cleveland there because he put this whole thing together. And
Yeah.
thank you for having us, Clyde. We
Oh,
really
well,
appreciate
thank you. Thank you for doing this interview. You guys are awesome. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, people, for coming and listening to this. And do please share this with others. This knowledge is so powerful, so powerful.
it. Yeah,
And you want to share it with everyone you know. Uh,
that's right.
so thank you very much, guys. Good luck with your restoring the Republic of Oregon that I know you're all involved with. That's fantastic. We're working hard here in Florida, and it's amazing what's happening. Definitely, I just want to mention one more time, SG Anon. It's I think it was January 2nd. Looking on Rumble, SG Anon and Colonel Sandy Mayarecki. It's SG Anon file 163, I believe, or no, actually it's 136. Watch that. And you'll want to watch it a couple of times. There's so much to unpack in there. But it fits right totally in harmony with everything you heard from Christo and Ananda and Jason today. So again, thank you for coming and watching this. Share this with everyone you know, and we'll see you at the next, our next interview.
Yeah, Clyde, I want you to give them the address of re-inhabiting our republic. The book,
Okay.
Sandy
Remember
said,
that there's two websites that Sandy mentions. One is members.republic for the United States of America.org, I believe. And then just Republic for the United States of America.org is the other one. And they both have different functions. In one of them, you actually can sign up to become an elector. And that's what we need right now too. If you liked anything that we've said today and tonight, go and become an elector because that's what we need. We're trying to repopulate
mm-hmm.
our republic, and we're doing it under the auspices of the Northwest Ordinance, which was passed by the Articles of Confederation in order to bring other states into the Union. And under that, we had to have the state would have to have three chief justices, a governor, a senator, and electors, and actually 30,000 electors to become a state. And so we're using those same things. All of our positions are interim. I'm an interim chief justice. I think you guys have interim positions in the Oregon Republic.
Yes.
So That's what we're doing. And we have 50 governors now. We have most of the chief justices in all the states, all 50 states. This
Yeah.
thing is growing. It's
Yeah.
growing quickly. And what I'm most excited about, and then we'll stop, is I'm part of the Palm Beach Assembly here. And each county has its own assembly. And it's so much fun to see people take part of self-governance.
Yeah.
And we're creating a true free republic in Palm
Awesome.
Beach County. And we're not any threat to the county sheriff and the normal corporate. We're just building alongside, and eventually people are going to go, which one do I want to be part of? Do I
Right.
want to be a part of this corporation that's been screwing me over my whole life? Or do I want to be, or do I want to be part of a republic and
Right.
be
Well,
self-governing?
the
It's pretty
Republic,
obvious,
I'm
right?
glad you
It's
said that.
obvious.
I'm glad you said that because it's the Republic where your constitutionally protected rights are there and present for you. In the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence is what I was quoting. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed with certain unalienable rights by their creator. Okay? That means if you want to stand upon your rights to life,
Mhm.
and to freedom and liberty and pursuit of happiness, and there are many unalienable rights, you need to be part of the republic because when one joins the corporation and they think that they're part of that corporation and not just their straw man's the corporation,
Mhm.
by definition, they're giving up
Mhm.
those unalienable rights and converting them into a privilege. So, for example, real quick on that, when in biblical times, biblical principles, because the Constitution for the United States, with your unalienable rights, is given to you by your Creator, which is what states right there in the Declaration of Independence. They can never be taken away from you because they're innate inside of you. So, in biblical principles, when one wanted to wed another, they didn't go get a license. They stood under God. But in the corporation, when one wants to wed another, a man or a woman, whatever, they have to go, or they don't have to, but they're conditioned, and this is the deletion process that we talked about. They're conditioned that they need to go get a license. When one gets a license, they're giving up the unalienable right to just be with their beloved in the purity of God's grace.
Not to
And
mention
now
their
they
children.
become, and their children, and now they become under the auspice of a contract, which that nexus is the license between the man, and we're just going to use man and woman in this scenario, the man, the woman, and the state. That's a trifecta contract
Yeah.
where assets are exchanged and it's three businesses coming together in a partnership. The state being a business, the man's all caps name, and the woman's all caps name being three businesses forming a contract with the nexus being the license. And now the state can come in and take all of the assets that two businesses, meaning the man and the woman business, create, called a house, your children, etc., which is why legally they have access to it.
Yep.
But in biblical principles, when there was a wedding, it was between God and the man and the woman who knew his wife. And it was under the auspice of God. So in the corporation, one converts their unalienable rights into a privilege. And in the republic, you operate off of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution for the United States, and these other sacred documents, including the Old and the New Testament, and your own internal knowingness with God, where you become whole and there's no licenses involved. So if that's inspiration to look into the Republic, I don't know what is. But
That's the
anyway,
great. I think we should conclude with that. I couldn't have said it better. I don't think anybody could. That was awesome, Jason. Thank
oh,
you
thank
so
you.
much. You guys are incredible.